Data types are the lifeline of any software program. Every programming language has their own data types. Similarly, C# also has some built-in data types. In this video, we will focus more about some built-in data types that are available in C# programming language. Before learning more about the data types, first let's understand what is a data, and then we will understand the different types of that data. Let's say I want to write a program for employee. For example, I want to get the information of all the employees, one employee, or add a new employee. Basically, I want to work with the employee. If I talk about the data of employee, then there are different properties. First is a name. Every employee will have a name. For example, it is Ram. Remember, this is a combination of some characters. It can be one single word, it can be two words. If I talk about full name, then there can be two words in this name. Then we have age. Age can be a complete number or it can be a decimal number. For example, here I'm writing 20.2. So the age can be either 20 or 20.2 or 20.3, etc. So this is a type of data. First type is we can have words. Second type is we can have the decimal numbers. Third is salary. This is a very basic example. For this salary, let's assume that we are having $5,000. So this 5,000 is also a data type. Next is address, and in the address we can have multiple lines, and again we can have multiple words over there. So this is also a type of data. Then we have phone number. Every employee will have a phone number. This phone number is also a type of data. If you will compare all this data, then you will see that there is some difference. In the name we are having words, then we are having decimal numbers, then we are having numbers, again we are having multiple words, then again we are having this phone number, and in this phone number either we can use some numbers like 888, or if you are using any kind of format, for example the brackets, dash, like that, then you have to consider it as combination of words. Then let's say we have one more property which is permanent, and here I just want to indicate whether the employee is permanent or not. So for this property there can be only two options, either yes or no. So this yes or no is also a type of data. Then we are having grade. Let's assume that we have defined some grades for the employees, and the grade for this particular employee is A. So this A is a single character, and this is also a type of data in itself. Similarly, there will be so many types of data in any application, and if you will focus here, employee is also a type of data, because in an organization there will be employees, there will be vendors, there will be projects, etc. And here we are talking about the employee. So this employee is also a type of data. And programming is all about working with the data. C# is a type A programming language. It means if you are having a specific type, then there is no chance that this data will be manipulated. The C# will take care of your data. And there are different data types available in the C# programming language. If I divide this type based on categories in C#, then there are two types of data. First is the reference type, second is the value type. These are two different types of data that are available in C#. We will focus more on these in upcoming videos or upcoming slides. But remember, if I divide the type based on categories, then there are two types of data. The best way to learn any programming concept is to relate it with some real objects. For example, here I'm having a kitchen and I want to work on the kitchen example. In a kitchen we have different cells, we have different box, different types of box, some bottles as well, and we put some products in those boxes. You can see in this diagram we are having different type of boxes. Every box has something in it. Some of them may be empty, some of them may be full, some of them may be half full. The size of the container or box may also vary. If I talk about a very general example, you will see we are having rice in our kitchen. We also have salt. For rice we have a big box, and for the salt we have a small box. We put the rice in the big box and we put the salt in the small box. But can I put the salt in that big box? Of course I can. But that is a wastage of the size of the box, because I am having a very large size, and in that very large size I am putting a very small quantity of product. So it doesn't make sense. Similarly, in the C# as well, we will have some data types, and there will be different data types based on the size. And just like we choose the appropriate box for the product, similarly in the programming language also we choose the data types based on the data. Let's talk about some examples. Here let's say we are having some containers, and I'm also having some bottles. How do I choose which box is suitable for a product? That depends on the product. Let's say if I'm having something liquid, then I can put it in a bottle. If I'm having something solid, then I need something with a big mouth so that I can open it easily. Now let's talk about these three containers. Let's assume that the maximum capacity of this first box is 500 grams. Does it mean that it can only contain 500 grams? No. It is the maximum capacity. We can have it empty. We can have 2 grams, 100 grams, 200 grams, but not more than 500 grams. If I am having a product which is more than 500 grams, then either I need a large box or I need to put it in different box. Similarly, in C# application also we will have different types of data. What are the learnings? The type of box matter, and we decide it based on the product. If I'm having something liquid, then I generally prefer the bottle. If I'm having something solid, then I need a proper container for that. Size of box. Remember, based on the minimum and maximum value of the product, we choose our box size. Sticker name. Let's assume that I'm having more than 2 boxes in a kitchen and they are not even transparent. By looking at those boxes, I cannot identify what is inside them. So how do I handle this situation? We generally put a sticker with a name on those boxes, and based on the name that we put on the sticker, we can figure out what type of product is available inside that particular box. What are some common actions that we generally do with the kitchen boxes? And if I'm cooking something, then I have to fill it with the product. Sometimes I fill it completely, sometimes I put some small portion, and sometimes I do not fill anything in those boxes. But let's say I bought few boxes and they are empty. Remember, these empty boxes will also cover some areas in your kitchen. Similarly, if you are having some data types in programming language, you have defined them, but if you have not added few values to those variables, then still they will use the space of your memory. This is also an action that we generally perform on the box. We take out some product from the box. Sometimes we empty it, sometimes we take only the small portion. Similarly, in the C# programming language data types, we perform few operations as well. And this is one of the most important concepts. If the box is of no use, then we generally clean the table by putting the box back to self. It means if any kind of data type is not required in memory, then we just destroy it. Just like we are doing here in the kitchen, every kitchen will have a work table and there will be some permanent storage. We will take out the box from those storage, we will put them on the work table, we will use it, and once there is no use of the box, then again we will put it back. Let's compare the situation with the C# programming language. Every C# data will have a type. That type will have its size. For example, if I'm talking about numbers or I'm talking about name, that is the string, they will have their own size. Just like we are filling the box, here we can assign some values to those variables. We can remove the value as well, just like we are having empty box. Now let's talk about some built-in value types in C#. There is boolean, byte, sbyte, character, decimals, double, float, int, long, short, ushort. These are some built-in value types in C# programming language. We will learn all of them in upcoming videos in details one by one. And now let's focus on the reference types. If I talk about the built-in reference types, then there are only 3 data types. First is the object, second is the string, third is the dynamic. And these are very important concepts. Other than these types, there are also so many types available in C# programming language. Some are built-in and some of them are the user-defined. Now let's learn how can we declare a type. To declare a type in C# programming language, first we have to write that word for the type. For example, integer, characters, object, boolean, whatever the type is, then add an space, and after the space we have to provide it a name. This name can be user defined. You can put any kind of name over here. Of course, there are some rules that you cannot have the space in the name. You cannot start the name with a number. It should always be either underscore or a character. There are some rules for this name, but you can put it anything. For example, if I'm having a string first name or a string last name. That's how we declare a type in C# programming language. Now let's assume that I want to declare more than one variables of the same type. Then I can write type and then the names of my variables. All these types that we are declaring, these are variables. And what is the type of that variable? That we identify with the first word that we write before that name. Let's open the Visual Studio and let's learn how to define some types. Here I am having a very simple console application, and in this console application I am having this main method. Inside this main method, let's assume I want to define a type. How to do that? We have already done this concept in the previous video, but here we will focus on specific data type. Let's say I want to define int. This is the type that is available in C# programming language, and it is a value type. Let's say here I am writing roll number and put a semicolon at the end. Every line in C# programming language is called an statement, and remember, we always put a semicolon at the end of each statement. This is how we can declare a variable in this C# programming language. Why I'm saying variable? Because its value can be changed. This is the name of the variable and the type of variable is integer. Now let's say I want to add one space in this name. This is wrong. I cannot do that. There should not be any kind of space in your variable name. Now let's say I want to add some numbers in the beginning of this name. 1, 2, 3 like this, or maybe single 1. This is also not allowed. You can use the numbers either in between or at the end. Let's say I want to use this number after this R. I can do that, but I cannot write the numbers in the beginning. I can do it in the end like this. This is perfectly fine. Second is, I can use the underscore in the beginning of name. This will also work, and it is also a valid name in C# programming language. Although there is no fixed rule, but in C# programming language, we generally use the camel case to define the variables. Let's define one more variable. So this time I'm using a string first name like this. Let's say I want to define more than one variables of same type. Then how to do that? A string last name like this. You can write these things in one single line like this. This is also valid, but again, formatting of your code also matters a lot. In general, you should always write one single statement in a line. So instead of writing your code like this, always write this thing in the next line. There is also an alternate way. You can put a comma after this first variable name and you can define it like this. Now what we are doing, we are having two variables of a string type. We are having one variable of integer type. Similarly, we can have so many types over here. Let's say I'm talking about bool. Here I'm writing is permanent like this. Here is a very important tip. While you are defining your variable names, make sure they are human readable. In general, we define A, B, C. We can do that. But if a person is reading your code, then he cannot identify what is the purpose of this A or B. But if you will define your names like this, then he can easily identify that the purpose of this is permanent variable is to identify whether the particular object is permanent or not. Similarly, this first name variable will hold the first name. This roll number variable will hold the roll number. This is how you can define the variables in C# programming language. Now let's talk about the assignment of values. To assign the values in C# programming language, we always use the equal symbol, single equal symbol. And after that single equal symbol, we can define the value. Here we have declared some variables and now we have to assign the values. There are two ways to assign the values. First is, either you can assign the values during the declaration. Let's say here I'm writing 1, 2, 3. This is a valid approach. Or you can also assign the values after declaring it. Roll number. Now what we are doing, we are declaring a variable over here and we are assigning the values at this particular place. I can do it like this also, that first I'm assigning 10 and then in the next line I'm assigning 1, 2, 3. It means, for example, if I'm having a box and first in that box I'm putting salt. Now again I'm taking out the salt and I'm putting sugar in that same box. So the box is same, but the product, the item is different now. Okay, let's talk about this string. Let's say I want to assign some values to this string. So first name. If you need to write some characters in C# programming language, then we always use the double quotes like this. So here let's say I'm writing Nitish. That's how we work with these strings. Let's assign some values to this boolean also. Is permanent. And here we can only assign two values, either yes or no. And the similar value in C# is true or false. Either I can write true or I can write false. like this. This is how we declare the variables, and this is how we assign the values. If you remember from the previous video, where we were doing it like var user input, and we were using console.readline. Remember that line? What we were doing over here? We were declaring a variable with the name user input, and we were assigning this value to this user input variable. The similar concept is here. Why should we choose the correct data types? In your kitchen, you are having so many cells, and all those cells have different boxes, and you also have a work table. Remember, in that work table, some space is already occupied by the gas stove. Every kitchen will also have a sink to clean the pots or the boxes, so there is some limited space over there. And if you will put all the boxes on that particular table, then it is not a kind of manageable. Similarly, in the C# programming language, you have RAM. For example, the RAM of your computer is 2 GB. In that 2 GB, some space is already occupied by other softwares. For example, the operating system, the browsers, the editors, and just assume that we are having this limited space available of RAM for our program. We have to work only on this particular memory. And if I talk about a concept where I'm having a rice box, and in that rice box I'm only putting salt, it means I'm wasting the size of that box. Similarly, if you are declaring a type that is having more size, and in that size if you are assigning only less value, then it is just wasting the memory. So it is very important to choose the correct data type for our data, because we have a limited memory and we have to work only in that memory, and we have to also provide a great performance to our application. What is the parent of all data types? Object is the parent of all data types that is available in C# programming language. It means if I'm having a data type, then instead of using that particular type, I can define object. So here I'm having this application, and instead of using this int, I can use object. Now the type of this roll number is object, and in this object I can define any kind of value. Let's say here I'm having this first name variable, and the type of this first name is string. If I want to assign the number to this first name, let's say what will happen. You will see we are having a red line over here, and it is an error. You will see we are having a message over here, cannot implicitly convert type int to string. This number is integer, and we cannot convert it to string automatically. We have to use some methods for that. But if I'm having the object, let's say here I'm using object, then I can put Nitish, that is the string, and I can put this 1 2 3 also, and I can also put any other data type like the true or false, like this. This object is the parent of all of them. But remember, if you are using this object type, then your data type is not safe, because in that particular box, sometimes you are putting liquid, sometimes you are putting solid, and different type of products also. So it is always better to choose the specific data type for your data instead of using this object. But in case if you are having a situation where you do not know what kind of data you will have, then in that scenario you can use this object. Object is the parent of all data types. We can assign any data type to this object type. If we need to convert object back to the specific type, then we will have to convert it to that particular type. What does it mean? Let's say here I'm having this object which is roll number, and it is 10. Now let's say here I'm declaring one more value. Here it is first roll number, and let's say I want to assign this value to this particular variable, like this. You will see immediately I will get an error. Although this 10 is an integer and the type of this first roll number variable is also integer, but if I will assign this roll number to this particular variable, then you will see we are getting an error, cannot implicitly convert type object to integer. This object is a type of solid box, and we do not know what kind of product is there inside this box. It can be number, but it can also be string. It can also be a boolean value. To provide the safety of your product in C# programming language, you cannot use it directly. You always have to convert it by using some methods. And if I talk about one example over here, let's say I'm writing convert dot to int 32. Now this is the valid way. What we are doing over here is we are converting this roll number value to the integer by using this particular method. This is also a built-in method. We will learn more on these methods in upcoming videos. But what is the learning here? The learning is that if you want to assign the object type to some other types, then you have to convert it. You cannot use it directly. But remember, I can assign anything in this roll number. How? Let's say over here at this place, I'm assigning roll number, which is a type of object, and here I want to assign this first name. This is totally valid because this roll number is a type of object and we can put anything in this object box. So either it is string, either it is object, it is boolean, it is number. We can put anything in this roll number variable. We will learn more and so many things about data types in upcoming videos. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.